Okay, we're inside the garage, and the garage door faces north. So inside the garage southeast corner, inside the closet, we find the water heater. The self-closing spring has been decommissioned or loosened up. I'm sure that it can be reattached. Start from the bottom. Why not? Okay, we do not have a safety pan. If something horrible were to happen to this water heater and causing it to leak, the water would leak into the closet, onto the garage floor, into anything that you might have stored around here. This is the care and use manual, not the best place for it. I don't really inspect for those. So you're supposed to have one, and you've got one on the floor next to the water heater. This is the burner control observation, a burner, access cover plate, and this is where I found it, loose, and that's where I'm going to leave it. Okay, what do we have here? We've got electronic ignition. We've got gas piping coming to this. The gas piping does not have a sediment trap to catch impurities before they go into the burner, so it should have a sediment trap there. It should. Okay, this is the data plate. And on the data plate, we learned that this is advertised to be a 50-gallon gallon tank, and that the tank was actually manufactured in 2013, causing it to be 8 years old. Up here, we see that KC installed it in 2013, so that just further verifies the age. Water heaters last about 10 years. You might get a little more out of it, but that's the statistical life average. So it being at 8 years old, it's in the last third of its estimated service life average. So just to be good to know that. Coming along here, this is the fresh air, which is good. But up here, that's what we got here. We want to know. Let's find out. That's the makeup air. Those screens at one time, they were required. They were required. But not now, because they get clogged. So we've got a screen on this little puppy. All right. I'm going to go back to here. 50 gallons, 8 years ago. That doesn't mean you're going to have 50 gallons of service water. I'm going to report the size of the tank as it was advertised. That doesn't mean that I don't know how it's going to, honestly, I can't predict how it's going to perform in terms of delivering hot water to a family. So it'll probably work all right. Mine works okay. So this is the temperature pressure relief valve. They're supposed to be replaced about every 3 years. We know that hasn't happened. We know that. They're not supposed to have more than 5 50-degree bends here. So we've got counting 1, 2, okay, 3 in the wall, 4 going out to the wall. 5, it probably has enough bends. Probably does. But look at here. This drain line is not supposed to be farther from the ground than 6 inches. Or closer than 3, but that's what we're talking about. So the drain line is too high. And the temperature pressure relief drain valve is too old, and it wasn't insulated. And just like this was supposed to be insulated, so were these guys. These guys are supposed to be insulated when they come to the tank. You know what else these guys are supposed to have? We're supposed to have diametric unions. Dielectric, anyway, doesn't seem like we've got those guys. And they're not insulated. What else? We've got to keep going, bud. Alright, I'll go. That pipe does not have a thimble on it. Does not have a fire blocking thimble. So what do we learn? We do not have a fire blocking thimble. We learned that these do not have dielectric unions. We learned that these guys are not insulated. We learned that the TMP is not insulated. The TMP is too old. We learned that the temperature pressure relief valve drain line terminates too far from the ground. We learned that the unit is 8 years old. It's electronic ignition. We learned that we do not have a sediment trap. We learned that the cover plate's loose. Another thing that we learned, and I haven't checked the water pressure yet, but for good or ill, later in the report I'll find out whether we got too much water pressure. Because if we got 80 psi or more, then you should have an expansion tank. I mentioned that earlier, so this is why I kind of like to recap these things. So we do not have an expansion tank. Also, that single wall flue, that looks kind of suspicious there. Just saying.